Hi, it's Chris Heller, Chief Real Estate Officer at Ojo Labs with.
Jeremiah Taylor, Vice President of Real Estate and Mortgage here at Ojo Labs.
We want to talk today about a specific topic. In fact, Jeremiah, why don't you go ahead and kick it off?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. What we want to talk to you about today is an emerging trend that we're seeing across some of the top teams in the nation. And it's this concept of creating optionality for sellers. And so what that means is, traditionally as agents, we help sellers put their home on the MLS, stage it, do all those things, and sell it. In this world where we've got iBuyers and buy before you sell programs and investors in the market, what we're seeing the best agents do is create optionality for the seller so that when they go on their listing presentation, they can give the seller, 2, 3, 4 different options. And now, Chris, I know you do this on your team. I do this on mine. And I think it'll provide a lot of value for agents out there for us to kind of demystify this and how agents are creating optionality.
Totally agree. And the reason that we need to do this as agents is because if we aren't providing it to the consumers, someone else will. In fact, someone else already is in most markets, right? We have iBuyers that are doing heavy direct-to-consumer marketing. We have platforms that are offering these options to consumers. As agents, we want to be the ones delivering the message, delivering the options. And that's how you stay relevant. That's how you provide value. That's how you create a higher conversion rate on your listing opportunities.
There's 2 schools of thought on this. Maybe there's more than 2, but there's the ones that embrace this stuff and they learn about it and they figure out how to leverage it and they figure out how to make it win. And those usually are the most successful agents. And you have the other ones that kind of bury their head in the sand and say, oh, those don't work. They don't make you good offers. They don't offer top dollar. And that is absolutely not the winning approach. In fact, recently, we've seen iBuyers pay more than we thought a seller could get in the open market. And sometimes it's the best option for them.
Well, and we see sellers oftentimes willing to take less for the convenience, for the certainty. So it's not about whether it works or it doesn't work. Let's take off our agent's hat and put on our consumer hats. If you're selling your home, you could sell it without having to fix it up, without having to have strangers walk through, without having to keep it perfect every day, not knowing when it's going to sell or what it's going to sell for, which makes your plans on what you're trying to do very difficult. If the price is right, you're going to take the easy path, the certainty, the convenience, and take an instant offer. So as agents, we want to be able to offer that. Or if your house needs to be fixed up, and it needs to be fixed up, it needs new paint, needs new carpet, the cabinets need to be redone, but you don't have the extra cash to do it. And you look at your options, we'll offer an allowance or we'll lower the price or do those things. For an agent to be able to offer an improved move option where, hey, we have a way to help you do that. And then we get paid out of escrow or out of closing. Or someone who, and you mentioned earlier, who's selling because they're going to be buying something. And regardless of how competitive the market is, if they can buy their home because they see what they want is there right now and they can go buy it, move, and then sell their house without living in it, that's an easier way. So there's companies that are offering these solutions to your customers. You want to be the ones offering these solutions. So let's talk about how we do that.
Yeah. So I think when we go on a listing presentation, we generally offer the customer 3 options. And what we tell them we're going to talk about when we get there is the easy path. If you want to sell the house today, we will come equipped to not only make an offer ourselves, but with offers from our network of investors, including all the iBuyers in the market. And within 3 or 4 days, we can go out and field offers from all those parties. And you'll know with certainty, what could you sell the house for right now in current condition? Option 2 is if we did a little bit more work, we got professional photos, put it on the market and put it out to MLS, advertise it to all the agents. What do we think the open market would bring for your property in current condition? Or option 3 is if we do some of those intelligent fix-ups, maybe the fix-up to sell. Basically, if we were going to flip your house, what would we do? And we will introduce you to our contractors, our assets, our partners, and tell you what we think is possible to get out there. And then you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, based on your wants, your needs, your financial wherewithal, can decide which path is best for you. And generally, sellers are really excited about that approach because it kind of makes life easier for them. They've heard about these things, or maybe they haven't, but it's like, oh, geez, this is great. This one person can give me all the avenues that I may want and bring them to the table.
Well, and again, it really increases the value that we're providing as agents, right? Because we're coming with multiple solutions, and it prevents you from being in that situation where a seller says, well, hey, this all sounds great, Jeremiah, but I got this thing from company XYZ, and I want to see what they're willing to pay for the house, right? Now that's happening outside of our relationship with that consumer versus us being the one facilitating that. So as agents, we got to get rid of our fear. We got to get rid of our skepticism. We got to put our ego, all those things aside and say, okay, how can we provide the maximum value to someone who's thinking about selling their homes? And put yourself in the place of the seller. Would you like to have options? And of course, the answer is yes. Now, they may never choose some of these options, but having the options is what's important. And then when they do choose, whichever option they choose it with full knowledge, and it's a more powerful choice and a more committed choice that they've made, and everyone is rowing in the same direction at that point.
Yep.
So let's talk about how we do this, right? We've talked about how you present it and why to present it, but then what's the nuts and bolts? If I say, hey, Jeremiah, I've never bought a house. I don't have the money to buy a house, and I don't have anyone I know that could make an instant offer on someone's house. What do I do?
Yeah, so I think that's great. And that's where we see a lot of agents get stuck. So number one, if the iBuyers are in your market, it's in your best interest to go get connected with them. They all, Open Door, OfferPad, all the iBuyers have local in-market reps that love working with real estate agents, and they will pay you a fee to bring them the opportunity. It may not be the full fee that you would charge or the whatever you'd want to charge, but that's between you and the seller to work out. And Open Door and the other companies will pay you something. So go meet those people, go to their website, look up, how they cooperate with agents, understand that. So after the iBuyers, the next thing is I would seek to understand who are the home flippers, who are the big investors in your market, who are the agents that are representing the hedge funds in your market, and get to know them. And this is one of those times where you're going to need to be a little bit resourceful. Look on the MLS. Who's the person consistently listing 10, 15 houses a month that all look exactly the same? Like clearly they're flips. Shouldn't be that hard to figure out. Or call your title rep, call your escrow partners and ask them, who are the big players in our market that are doing all the home flips? They will know, and get connected with their acquisitions teams so that you can have them quickly bring you offers on properties. One kind of gotcha with this is if I'm an agent, I want to understand who are the in buyers that are actually doing acquisitions and who are the wholesalers. Wholesalers can be really helpful, but in a situation where you're working with a seller and that seller has timelines and a life happening, you want to make sure that if you're working with a wholesaler, they're one that their deals are going to close and that it's going to work out the right way, because oftentimes there can be some misfires with those. But what I always say is if the deal is right, the money will show up. And the reality is we all know people in our lives that if you found, if the price was right on the property, it's super easy to find the money to buy that property. And it's in your best interest as an agent to learn how to do that, because that's our big opportunity as agents, is to be at the front of the deal flow, to see those best opportunities and, bring them into your portfolio or fix them and resell them. And when you're transparent with the consumer about, hey, this is the price I'm willing to pay. If we put it on the market, you could get more. And the consumer makes an informed decision not to do that. That's okay. That's a win for you and a win for them.
Great point. Drilling down even a little farther into, the nuts and bolts. And you hit on this, super important to talk with if there are iBuyers in your marketplace, to talk with them and find out exactly what the process is. Sometimes you'll be able to elicit an offer on a property even before you meet with the seller and then bring that with you. Sometimes you'll need to get the seller to acknowledge, hey, yes, I give you authorization to go get me offers on the house. I'm not obligated to take any of them, but yes, you have my my permission to go do that. And then you go do that and you bring, 48 hours later or 72 hours later, you come back and say, hey, here's our options. We got 2 offers, at one at A, one at B. And the third option is that we put it on the market. Here's what it looks like if we put it on the market. Here's what it looks like if you take one of these other options. Which one makes the most sense for you? Yeah. And another thing you can do is you can list the property and then say, Mr. and Ms. Seller, we have options and we're going to explore all these options. First thing we need to do is list the property. Before we put it on the market, do I have your permission to go get some cash offers from some companies and investors so you can look at those before we put it on the market in case they're good enough for you to take? You've listed the property, so you already have a commission in it. You can forego the fee from the iBuyer because the iBuyers aren't likely to pay you a fee and have you take a commission on the seller. So you're no worse off. And if you can do that and sell the property in a day without having to market it or put it on the market, that's not a bad thing.
Yep. Yeah, totally agree. So let's move to option 2, which is sell the house, current state. I think that should be self-explanatory for most agents. You just run your comparable market analysis, look at what homes in similar condition and types and sizes have sold for. And I think in the market we're coming into, it's ever important to look at the actives and who your competition is on the market. Anything you would add to option 2, Chris? I think it's pretty straightforward.
I just want to emphasize the last thing you said. If we're looking in the rearview mirror at what's sold, when the market was at its peak and now things have softened up, and if they haven't softened up in your market, just wait, they will, then you want to be pricing ahead of the market, right? You don't want to be pricing based on what happened 3 months ago, because what happened 3 months ago may not be relevant today and probably is not relevant today. So that's the caveat there on pricing. And then with the few minutes we have left, let's get into the last topic.
Yeah. So how do you go about helping sellers do what we call intelligent fix-ups? And on our team, we fix and flip houses. So it's very easy for us. If it kind of like the first scenario, if this is new to you and you haven't done this is a good opportunity to go create relationships with some contractors. If you're in a market that our partners at Curbio serve, Curbio is a great resource to help you with this. And this is where you're going to have to be a bit resourceful, perhaps even leverage a partnership with a local stager. If you don't have a stager already, you should have a stager. What else would you add to that, Chris?
I think that's it. If sometimes companies will provide this sort of concierge service, and really what it is the house needs $7,000 worth of work to make it much more appealing, much more saleable. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I will loan you the money. We will sign a note. If you decide not to sell, it gets recorded as a second on your home. You owe me the money. If you do, if we go through with the sale, then at closing, my invoice will be provided to Tyler Escrow, and I'll return that money, or that might be paid back to me. I've helped you. I have a new client because of it, and we all win.
It's easier to sell homes that look great, that are well staged. Like we're coming into a market where there's more and more inventory, and the best homes will always still sell quickly and for great prices. And that's our job as agents, is to help these sellers maximize their sales price.
Yeah. We were coming out of a market where it didn't matter what the house looked like, smelled like, or anything else. We're coming into a market where all that will matter a lot. Lastly, buy before you sell. There are a lot of great companies out there that can help facilitate this. Homeward, Ribbon, Knock, Homelight, and probably several others I'm not thinking of, where if you aren't familiar with these companies, get familiar with them. It allows your client to become a cash buyer. These companies will buy the house that your clients want to buy. Your client moves in, pays rent until their house sells. When their house sells, they then buy the house from the company who bought it for them. It can be done with really very little fee or expense, and it can be a great convenience.
I'll just add 2 things. One, I'll add fly homes to your list that you rattled off. And the second is talk to your lender partners. Fannie Mae and the government servicing entities that make the rules about mortgages are adapting to this new environment. And there's more and more options for sellers to buy before you sell, buy like cash, et cetera. So make sure you're exploring those things with your mortgage partner.
So in closing, what we want this conversation to do is to get you thinking about optionalities, thinking about how to offer more value to your consumers and be the one delivering these options to the consumers so that you're the one that's benefiting from it and building more relationships and deeper relationships with the consumers you have. We hope this is helpful. If there's any other topics you want to hear us talk about or any things you have questions about, please reach out at any time. Thanks for watching.